December 3, 2025. In a development that has sent shockwaves through Ukraine's military and political establishment, intelligence reports reveal that Russia's missile production has surged to levels reminiscent of the Soviet Union's Cold War era heyday. Ukrainian officials, citing declassified assessments from the main Directorate of Intelligence, HUR, warned that Moscow's factories are churning out high-precision missiles at a rate of nearly 2,500 units annually in 2025. A figure that eclipses pre-invasion outputs and approaches the massive industrial scales of the 1980s Soviet military machine. The revelation comes amid escalating Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian cities, with the latest barrage on November 28 targeting energy infrastructure in Kyiv and Odessa, leaving over 200,000 households without power. This is not just a quantitative leap, it's a qualitative nightmare, said Vadim Skibitsky, deputy head of Ukraine's HUR, in an exclusive interview with Ukrinform last month. Russia's output now rivals the Soviet Union's peak production phases, when factories like those in Vokinsk and Perm operated around the clock to arm the Red Army against NATO threats. Skibitsky emphasized that this ramp-up is no accident but a deliberate shift to a full war economy, bolstered by preserved Soviet-era facilities and covert imports evading Western sanctions. Historical parallels are stark. During the Soviet era, the USSR's missile complex, encompassing giants like the SS-20 Sabre and Iskander precursors, produced over 3,000 strategic missiles yearly at its zenith in the mid-1980s, fueling the arms race that defined the bipolar world order. Fast forward to today, Russia's 2025 production plan includes over 750 Iskander-M ballistic missiles, 560 Kh-101 air-launched cruise missiles, and hundreds more caliber naval variants, according to a leaked Russian Ministry of Defense document analyzed by Western think tanks. This totals a staggering 2,500 high-precision weapons, spanning cruise, ballistic, and hypersonic classes, a 100% increase from 2024's estimated 1,200 units. Ukrainian intelligence attributes this to Russia's exploitation of mothballed Soviet plants, now retrofitted with modern CNC machines and AI-driven assembly lines, operating at 90 to 100% capacity. The implications for Ukraine are dire. With Russian stockpiles swelling from 870 long-range missiles in late 2023 to over 1,400 by mid-2025, Moscow can sustain monthly barrages of 100 to 130 strikes without depleting reserves. They're not just replacing losses, they're building for escalation, warned Defense Minister Rustem Umerov during a briefing in Kyiv's fortified command center. Recent attacks, including a hypersonic Kinzhal strike on a Lviv arms depot that killed 12 civilians, underscore the threat. Ukraine's air defenses, bolstered by Patriot systems from the US and Germany, intercepted 78% of incoming missiles last month, but officials admit the sheer volume is overwhelming. Soviet-level output means Soviet-level terror, Umerov added, evoking memories of the 1983 Able Archer crisis when NATO feared a Soviet preemptive strike. Behind the surge lies a web of industrial resilience and sanctions-busting ingenuity. Despite US-led export controls since 2022, Russia has sourced critical components, semiconductors, guidance gyros, and titanium alloys via shadow networks in China, Iran, and North Korea. Factories in Tatarstan and the Urals, once idled post-1991, now hum with 24/7 shifts, employing 50,000 workers incentivized by tripled wages and patriotic propaganda. General Christopher Cavally, NATO's supreme allied commander Europe, testified before the U.S. Senate in April that Russia's munitions output now outpaces all NATO combined by a factor of 7, with missile lines tripled since the invasion. This is Putin's war economy on steroids, Kavaly said, noting Russia's annual tank production has doubled to 1,500 units while artillery shells hit 3 million. Ukraine's response blends defiance and desperation. President Volodymyr Zelensky, addressing the Verkhovna Rada on December 1st, pledged a missile shield for the ages, announcing plans to produce 3,000 domestic missiles and 30,000 long-range drones in 2025, a bold counter to Moscow's machine. Partnerships with Baykar, Turkey, and Rheinmetall, Germany, are accelerating drone swarms capable of saturating Russian radars, while U.S. ATACMS deliveries provide deep strike parity. Yet, aid fatigue in Washington, with Congress debating a $60 billion package, looms large. If the West falters, Ukraine falls, Zelensky urged in a video to EU leaders. Internationally, alarm bells are ringing. The UK's MI6 has warned of Russia's preparations for a post-Ukraine contingency, potentially targeting NATO's eastern flank by 2030, with missiles modifiable for 5,000 kilometers ranges. In Brussels, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called an emergency summit for December 10th, focusing on Sanctions 2.0 to choke Russia's supply chains. Analysts at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, predict that without tighter controls on dual-use tech from Asia, Russia's output could hit 3,000 missiles by 2026, true Soviet revival territory. On the ground, the human cost mounts. In Kharkiv, resident Alina Kovalenko, 42, sifts through rubble from a November Iskander hit that claimed her brother's life. They say it's war, but this feels like genocide by factory, she told reporters, her voice trembling. Ukrainian forces report a 40% spike in PTSD cases among defenders exposed to near-daily alerts. As winter grips the front lines, the missile shadow lengthens. Russia's Soviet-echoing arsenal not only prolongs the agony in Ukraine, but redraws Europe's security map. For Zelensky's embattled nation, the fight is now as much against machines as men, a grim echo of history's unresolved chapters. Will the West resolve match Moscow's industrial fury? The coming months will tell.